What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle, and I've got a story that is so mind blowing and groundbreaking. I just have to read it. I'm not even prepared to analyze it or discuss it. I have to read court documents. This is from the Montana Daily Gazette. Documents made available in a federal lawsuit demonstrate that big tech has an agreement with the U.S. government to censor American citizens. It's not just a left or right issue. Like I always say, this has got to be a American people first, fighting for the country type of issue, and we're not even close to there. So you can say it's not a left or right issue, but it does matter right now. We're not on the same page at all here. These deep state documents are now a matter of public court record made available by Dr. Shiva Ayadure, and I follow him on YouTube. And I'm mad I've missed this because he's been talking about it, and I just haven't been watching the videos. And then I saw this link, someone shared this link, and then I was like, I put the two and two together, like, oh, that's what he's talking about. Let me get into it. According to the court record, the judge presiding over the case has insisted on the documents being entered into the public record because they are absolutely revolutionary. So, what if it could be demonstrated? I'm continuing to read from the article, beyond a doubt, that big tech is censoring the American public on behalf of the federal or state governments. If true, that revelation would instantly make invalid any argument that big tech can do what they want because they are private businesses. I'm going to put a link up above. I just did a video on that. It's really the first of a two-parter. The second part of that is Section 230. That's a whole separate topic. And that's what we're going to get into a little bit of that here. If there was solid evidence that demonstrates big tech is acting as a surrogate of the government censoring Americans at their request, then this would mean that the rise of big tech censorship is actually the largest instance of state sponsored censorship in world history. This would mean, in no uncertain terms, that big tech is a puppet of an oppressive and tyrannical government regime and is pulling off a greater level of state sponsored censorship than anything dreamed by Kim Jong un or Red China. Guess what? They're saying the evidence absolutely exists. Dr. Shiva Ayardure is a very bright guy. So he used his prowess in collating informational data via computer systems. Using his prowess in collating information data via computer systems, Ayardure uncovered an incredible document on federal servers. How he did that, I do not know. Elections Interference Operations Playbook for state and local officials. The document outlines an agreement between the government and one of big tech's largest companies, Twitter, to censor speech that is critical of elected officials. The document, now revealed on Ayardure's website, centers on a curious invention known as the Twitter Trusted Partnership and the Twitter Partner Support Portal, PSP. This is the means and mechanism by which federal or state governments can issue a censorship order to Twitter, which has agreed to comply with such orders as the price of avoiding regulatory oversight. Even if none of this is true, the American people cannot be in a position where this is possible. This scenario that this is possible, where the government can do a quid pro quo and big tech can do a quid pro quo with each other to say, hey, here's what we do. You can enact, we've got 90% of the population on these things. When you add up all the major social media companies and all the interactions, we've got like 90% of Americans on here. So here's what we do. I know the right thing obviously would be to censor us, but here's what we'll do. If you want to censor somebody, just let us know. We got them. Zapped, gone. And I know you guys want to do it probably mostly around election time. Zap, gone. Especially if we got someone who's outside of the establishment, an independent, some person rising on up. Meet Kevin was running for governor. Is running for governor. Meet Kevin from the YouTube channel, running for governor. If you didn't know, I should do a video on that actually. And when he announced his run, he was getting his Instagram post was going viral, and they took it down. See now I don't know. Now what was there some kind of intervention? This is Twitter. Does Facebook have a Instagram trusted partnership program that's to save America or to save the integrity of Instagram, where the government says, meet Kevin, getting a little bit too much hype early on. Let's nip that in the bud real quick. I have no proof. If you don't want me to ask questions, then you just make everything public. We should never be in the situation where this is possible. I don't care if this is true or not. This is Montana Daily Gazette posting this, and there's links to court documents, so I believe it. But put that aside, we should never be in the position where this is possible. Of course this relationship's going to happen. How could this not happen? It's in the government's best interest to bypass the Constitution. The Constitution is for you, for me. It's not for the government. I don't think we even understand that anymore. Shiva filed the handbook for government and big tech censorship partnership with the United States District Court in Massachusetts as a supplemental memorandum. You can find the PDF of the document by clicking below. I'll put that link in the description. In the legal brief, Aradure points out that Twitter's legal counsel began formulating and designing the framework for silently violating the free speech rights of U.S. persons by first characterizing speakers as influence operators, or probably in their jingo, IOs. We got an IO that's hot right now. Get online. Let's get them. Zap them. Done. Thereby fabricating a sinister connotation where none exists. This word IO, influence operators. What? That's a citizen. It's an American citizen. Now I understand some people might have nefarious intent, but what? CNN doesn't have nefarious intent. The Young Turks don't have, and I'm not dissing anybody. I'm just saying everybody has some type of intent. As the ideological framework, as the ideological framework to justify canceling speakers who exercise their right to express their opinion. After labeling problematic thought leaders and American citizens as influence operators, they created a new centralized governing coordinating council, the GCC. I'll repeat that, governing coordinating council, that brought together both state, we're talking about like a state in the country, and federal officials to create an electronic infrastructure for surveilling speech and monitoring influence operators. Man, this internet has been a pesky thing for them. In this wedding between Twitter, the Twitter Trusted Partnership, and the Governing Coordinating Council, the federal government began working in tandem with big tech to censor Americans. When Americans complained about big tech censorship, big tech companies simply shrugged it off as that's our right as a private company to censor whomever they want. They did not explain that big tech is censoring Americans on behalf of the government. That changes things significantly. As Ayarude's documents demonstrate, Twitter's executive created the state and local election cybersecurity playbook. And I'm sure they would argue that was for your safety and my safety. Whenever the government wants to save you, you should be scared, which was published in February 2018. They also formulated the election cyber incident coordination communication guide, which would further formulate how the federal government would get Twitter to ban those whose speech they don't like. The efforts culminated in the above mentioned Elections Influence Operations Playbook for state and local officials. Did they think this wasn't going to get out? Or it didn't matter because our country's so divided? That's the strength in a divided country. This story is old. It's like from like May or something. It's like from May 25th. Nobody cared. Nobody talking about this. In that playbook, the big tech and government partnership very explicitly state that those hashtagging tweets, and I'm not going to say that, should be banned immediately. So tweets with certain hashtags that were around what happens every 4 years for the general and 2 for the midterms, if you had a hashtag around that and you're questioning it, they said you should be banned immediately. According to the playbook, obviously you're gonna you go after those with the biggest social media influence first, and it lines out how government agents should report Americans to Twitter to be banned. Wow. Including screenshots and other information about speech they don't like. So I think I was familiar with that program from Twitter. Incredibly, the playbook also states that more credible voices should be banned by Twitter first. If this is true, in other words, the government is outsourcing state sponsored censorship to Twitter. That way, Twitter can hide behind the veil of Section 230, and the government can claim that it isn't censoring anyone. This is groundbreaking stuff. Meanwhile, the mainstream media has yet to pick up the story. It is little wonder why, should they report these indisputable facts, they will be censored by big tech next. Americans, do your due diligence and research. If you can, there's a link to the court documents. I'll put them in the description. To end, there's a lot to think about if this is true. Take care.